And for the very first time since we've been doing the show, I almost started talking too early there, Chip.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Almost interrupted The Rock.
You almost interrupted The Rock.
Almost.
Oh, you don't interview the great one.
No. We can't do that. I'm WB Ward.
And I'm Chip Douglas.
We're back once again for another SCI Wrestling show. Glad to be back. We had a lot of things going on this week. We lost some people. We gained some people. And we have a special guest lined up here in just a few minutes. I bet you're all a flitter over that.
I'm excited.
Now, this is what Chip has what would be called the classic man crush going on here.
I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, that's it in a good way.
It's exciting for me because of the fact that this is like someone that I reached out to, and he was so kind to actually respond back, unlike most people that I've tried to contact with. And this is someone that has a following. He has some background in professional wrestling, is a legit journalist within professional wrestling. And his name is Donald Wood from Ring Rust Radio and Bleacher Report. I'm just extremely excited to have him on the show to kind of get his a third opinion on some of the stuff going on in professional wrestling besides our idiotic opinions.
Yeah, that'd be kind of refreshing to say the least. And Donald has interviewed some heavyweights, literally. I mean, not just the heavyweight champions, but I mean some big time people. Guy's got some stroke.
I know from stroke as in powerful or stroke as in...
powerful.
Oh, okay.
We'll leave it there.
Okay. Just making sure. Yeah, but just even in their latest episode of Ring Rust Radio, they had TNA superstar James Cowboy Storm on there, which I know WB doesn't know, but I do very, very well. So yeah, he's a legit character.
Okay, so our let's see, our social media. That's what I was trying to think of. Don't forget to send us an email at sci@wbward.com. But we can also check us out on YouTube. And what's our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, real quick?
SCI_wrestling. If you just go into YouTube, type in SCI Wrestling, you'll be able to pull us up, and also Women Neck and Mud Wrestling. So either way, it's going to be a great time if you search it.
Okay, great. Now, I'm all a flitter over here. Do you have your twit of the week?
Oh, this is a good one. Yes, okay. I'm very excited about it.
Let's cue the gloved one.
Yeah!
There we go.
Woo!
Get down with y'all funky
I was in Vegas. They actually do a huge show with an impersonator.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
I didn't see it, but...
Okay.
Anyways, Tweet of the Week is brought to you by Al Snow.
Of course.
And this is an inspirational tweet from Al Snow.
Oh.
Leave the past behind you.
Yes.
Smile every day.
Absolutely.
Never wear underwear.
Yes.
I don't know. Inspirational tweets are hard.
That's it?
That's it.
You got them swinging free.
And that is why Al Snow won SCI's Twitter of the Year for 2014 or 2013.
When you were a kid, did they have that toy called the Click-Clacks?
I don't know.
Those are the things with the ceramic balls on the end of the strings, and he click-clacked them back and forth.
Okay.
It probably sounds like a click-clack when he walks. Anyway,
I don't know.
Shall we call our guest?
Let's do it.
Let's give him a call. I've got his phone number entered in.
Hopefully,
and we're gonna let it ring here. Yep, there's a ring.
Hopefully, he remembers we're live.
Hope so. Does he know we're calling?
Yes.
Okay.
He did warn me he might be drinking a beer, though.
That's okay. I hope he shares.
Uh-oh.
We got 4 rings there. I sense an...
Hello?
Hey, this sounds like the one and only Donald Wood.
Yes, sir, it is. How you doing, man?
Donald, my name is WB Ward, and on the other end of the microphone stand, we have...
The Chip Douglas.
Yeah, welcome aboard our happy little program here.
I very much appreciate it. Thank you for having me on, man.
Hey, dude, I've got to tell you, I was listening a little earlier to some of your podcasts. Wow, you're impressive.
Well, thank you. Actually, I started this as a joke with some friends because we were on another show one time, and we laughed and we said, "Hey, we're better than these guys. Why don't we do our own show?" And then we kind of like, for real, it's just I work for Bleacher Report. These guys work for Bleacher Report. We're hanging out all day anyway. Let's stay a half hour, 45 minutes late. Let's do a show. That turned into, we're long-winded, we're gas bags. That turned into 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So it's like, okay, let's do this. This is fun. So it's become a hobby that, like, we enjoy. You know, it's not so much a duty or anything like that. We just have fun.
Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way. Every interviewer is allowed at least one inane question, and I have it for you.
Go ahead.
Of all of the people you've interviewed, what is the one interview that really stands out?
All right, I'll answer this two ways, dude. I'll give you my common answer, which is someone like Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho knows everything about the business. Chris Jericho, he's a fan favorite. I marked out for him. That's one of the few. Rob Van Dam's another one. To where as a kid from Philadelphia, watched ECW growing up, went to the ECW arena. I marked out when I talked to Rob Van Dam, and you can hear it in my voice. I'm a giddy child. You know what I mean? But honestly, my favorite interview of all time has to be New Jack. We talked to New Jack, crazy wrestler from ECW, if you know him.
Yeah.
He's got drug problems. He's, like, attempted murder on people. Well, I happen to, like, become friendly with him.
What?
Well,
yeah.
It's better than being on the other side.
Yeah, it's true.
It's much better than being on the other side.
I heard a shoot interview, like he tried to run over a guy just because of the fact that he wanted to beat his ass because he was wearing a nice suit.
Listen, okay, we talked to him. He called us from a bar. So we're like, okay, this is automatically one of the best interviews we're ever going to do. And he talked openly about his addiction to crack. He talked about Terry Runnels, all this stuff sexually that they do with each other. It was one of the wildest 15 minutes of my life.
Wow.
Jake the Snakes Roberts, we talked to him. He must have been mid-high. I have no idea how to describe what he was, but that was another one, man, where it was just like, I can't believe we're doing this. Because we're just, listen, I'm a mark.
Yeah.
I'm a mark through and through. I don't believe there's smarts. You're either a mark or you're not a mark. You're either not a fan or you're working behind the scenes in the business.
Right.
And I'm a mark, dude. I'm an unabashed mark. I don't care. I still, oh my God, when Daniel Bryan's on top of the cage, I'm flipping out, man.
Exactly.
I'm yelling yes at home like he can hear me. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think I can't speak for WB that I was definitely doing that just because of the fact that you knew the turn was coming. You just didn't know when, and how WBE was able to create that within the cage to separate Rowan and Harper away from the cage. That way Daniel Bryan can have his redemption moment and have that huge pop from the crowd. I thought it was one of the better moments, definitely the best moment of that Raw.
Now, don't forget, though, if you go back to our last episode, I called this.
Oh, shut up.
I did.
God.
No, listen, it's okay. Listen, let me say something about this moment, though. As much credit as we give this moment, and it was great, right?
Yes.
Daniel Bryan and being on the top of that cage, that's an iconic moment now. When our kids look back at this, they're going to say, oh, man, you saw that live? That's pretty awesome.
Yep.
Now, I said, initially, I was like, this is amazing. But taking a step back and honestly thinking about it, I really wish they had saved this until the Royal Rumble. I wish they had saved this week, because next week you could have had this moment and Dave Bautista. You know what I mean? So, and then you really don't know who's going to win the Royal Rumble. Then there's a real question of, like, which is it going to be Bautista? Is it going to be, you know, is CM Punk going to sneak it out? Is Daniel Bryan? You know what I mean? I'd rather be intrigued. This makes it a little more clear, to me at least, that Daniel Bryan's going to win the Rumble, because next week it's going to be focused on Batista, and now you're supposed to forget about Daniel Bryan's big moment, because he won't do very much, and it'll be about Batista and stuff. So I'm worried that the predictability is going to be a little bit much next week. That's my problem with it.
Now, and I'm going to throw the curveball out there because of the fact that how WBE has been writing here recently, because I do agree with you. I really thought they might have captured this Daniel Bryan moment at the Royal Rumble and possibly had that, you know, the Wyatt versus Bryan in that Rumble match moment to where he would turn on him. But in retrospect now we know that the Batista return's coming next Monday. And there's a lot of internet rumors going around that it is going to be him and Randy Orton at WrestleMania. So with that in the forefront of the rumor mill, which, you know, we know rumors are, you know, reliable as a nice stripper, do we really perceive that the Royal Rumble is that predictable? Because we know next week's going to be all about Batista. So they're going to build around Batista winning the Rumble. Do we look at the fact that it's going to be Daniel Bryan or Batista? Or should we look at the aspect of, you know, maybe a Sheamus, which we don't know where he's at. We don't know when he's coming back. Or do we look at, you know, like CM Punk, who's going against the Authority?
Okay, well, first off, my dark horse of this whole thing is always Roman Reigns. He's the one. They've made him look strong for months.
Absolutely.
They could easily slip him in, and then, you want the crack in the shield? Him winning the Rumble. Because they said in that last promo on SmackDown, he said, listen, I'll throw both of you, but, they could be subtly teasing this. Hey, you talked about Sheamus coming back. Talk about Sheamus winning the Rumble. We all expected Jericho to win that year.
Yep.
This could be a case where we're looking for Orton. We're looking for Batista, Bryan, and boom, Roman Reigns. The final four, Roman Reigns takes out, Daniel Bryan gets taken out by Bray Wyatt. Batista takes out Bray Wyatt, and then Roman Reigns spears him, and then boom, you know what I mean? You could start a feud from that. You could do anything. But I think Roman Reigns is my dark horse. But honestly, you got guys like CM Punk. It's very hard. Hey, listen, I like that they're making it seem like Batista's going to win. I like it that they're making it seem like CM Punk has a chance to win. Daniel Bryan, they're really not giving it. Last year, we all knew Cena was going to win. You know what I mean? It was a foregone conclusion he was going to fight The Rock.
The whole pay-per-view was predictable.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But this year, you don't feel that. Like, listen, if you're a wrestling fan and you're talking to me and you're trying to tell me that CM Punk's going to win, and you could sell me on that.
Exactly.
By the time I'm done the conversation, I'll be like, you're right. You're right. And then, you sell me on Daniel Bryan. You sell me on Batista. You could sell me on Roman Reigns. So, but here's the good thing about the Royal Rumble. You got to get all these guys that we're talking about that could win. They could all use this rub. Now, you have a match that lasts 60 minutes where guys can shine simultaneously. Guys can put on a show themselves. So, Roman Reigns comes in first and gets knocked out at 20. His final four and gets knocked out at 27. You know what I mean? He's the 27th guy knocked out. He looks super fucking strong.
Yep.
But he doesn't win, you know what I mean? So that's how you book guys. Look at Dolph Ziggler. Guys like Dolph Ziggler look incredibly strong. Poorly booked afterwards, but you can make guys look super strong who don't win it.
It would be interesting to see if they actually had set up Roman Reigns. I think the best way to build him, because they're building him. They're building him for something huge, and maybe perhaps building him to maybe break Kane's single elimination record for a Rumble. I mean, what a way to be able to separate yourself from everyone else.
Do you see? You were talking about the writers taking some U-turns real quick. And the one possible U-turn that I haven't heard mentioned yet is the possibility of Batista facing Daniel Bryan.
Oh,
listen, you could always tie it in with the Authority. I remember talking to Mike Chiari about this before. You're talking about the Authority is what Daniel Bryan's been going up against this whole time, since SummerSlam, since before SummerSlam. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's always been Daniel Bryan versus Triple H versus you know what I mean? Okay, so let's say the plan is for Punk to fight Triple H at WrestleMania. Okay, that's fine. If that is the long-term plan, that appears to be what they're booking for. Kane seems to be an appetizer for Triple H before CM Punk gets to him, and that's fine. I can deal with all that. But if you're going to if you're going to do Daniel Bryan versus the Authority, maybe Batista's the guy who wins the title. Maybe he wins the Elimination Chamber, represents the Authority. Daniel Bryan wins the Rumble, faces Batista for the WWE Championship, and wins it from Batista at the WrestleMania. And that leads into Extreme Rules. You have a Batista versus Daniel Bryan feud with newly crowned champion Daniel Bryan. It's huge. That's huge.
What do you foresee happening within WWE as far as the writers are concerned? Because you got to admit, these guys have not been the most productive people as of late.
Okay, this is what I blame it on. I blame it on so much focus on the top storylines. You got guys like CM Punk. All the focus is on this top main event thing, and all the outlier stuff really doesn't matter. And that's where we've had issues with the booking of the secondary storyline, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Now the problem is, and Brandon Gowan said this week, and it kind of struck a chord with me. He said, "Dude, they don't make money." And I said, "Well, that's fine, but that's how you build secondary guys to eventually make money." But he said, "Dude, they don't make money." And the company is a company; it's there to make money. So when they got guys like Brock Lesnar coming back, and they're like, "Oh, you're burying that's time that a guy like Dolph Ziggler could have." Well, you know what, dude? Dolph Ziggler was put in the main event, didn't make enough money to have them buy into him, and they say, "I'd rather have Brock Lesnar, guaranteed payday there." Yeah. Well, you know what? You do have to book secondary storylines, and my hope is that that's the time after WrestleMania to Survivor Series, that middle of the summer, that's the time you give Damian Sandow the rub of a briefcase. While it's been booked poorly, yeah. I think that reflects more on the people. That reflects more on the people making the calls on the ground. and I'm talking about Triple H. They're not making fundamental booking decisions. To our storyline writer, he's not going to write this. Anybody who script writes knows that this is not how things are done. But it has to go through the creative director, and that's Triple H. He's, you know what, I'm not going to, John Cena's going to win. He's our meal ticket, you know what I mean? So it could be the greatest writing in the world, but it's who it's got to go through that I think is the issue.
Now, you brought up the wonderful topic of money, and of course we're all aware of the big announcement WWE made concerning the so-called WWE Network coming up. I was sharing with Chip just a little bit before we started recording tonight's podcast that I've recently had a big turnaround on an opinion on this, but I wanted to first get your feeling on Donald on what you thought about the idea of the WWE, what's being called the WWE Network.
Okay, well, there's two parts there, right? There's the actual platform itself that they're calling the WWE Network, and then there's the content. I think we can all agree that the content is the best. I was about to curse, but I'm not going to because I don't know if I'm allowed to. It's awesome. With all this content, you're talking pay-per-views.
Yep.
Really, you're giving me every WWE pay-per-view, WCW, and ECW. I'm never going to be bored again. I'm going to go to the annals of history, and I'm going to relive all the stuff. You know, when you're a kid, you're pumped about it. You know what I mean? I had my Austin 316 shirt, and I'm here and I'm cursed out. You know what I mean? This is good. I love this. You know what I mean? But looking back now, it's a different point of view. You know what I mean? And I can't wait for that. But as far as the platform itself goes, initially, you see it, okay, WWE Network, I want it on my television. I want to be able to go through, you know what I mean? Boom, like it's you know what I mean? Like it's a sports network. But the problem is, and I applaud WWE for this, because if you look at the future of movies, and it's not blockbusters, it's Hulu. Everything's on the computer. Everything's through your smart TV, through your Xbox, your what's the other, Netflix. It's all streaming, and that's exactly what the WWE Network is. I have a feeling it's going to be eventually picked up by more providers. There's going to be more behind-the-scenes stuff. But honestly, at $10 a month, I'm paying $600 a year to host WrestleMania or to host pay-per-view parties every month. Well, now I can do it on my Xbox 360 for $10 a month. You know what I mean? I'm going to make a killing at the door.
Absolutely.
Or you can do it through that Court Bauer wonderful advertisement of the Chromecast, which I have bought, and I will testify to being one of the most amazing things I ever bought for $35.
You know, see, and that's exactly right, and that's another example. However you do it, if you can take advantage of the $10 a month, that's honestly the fiscal cost of this. If this is true, if there's no extra paywalls, you have to buy coins to see certain pay-per-views. For real, as long as it's not that, fiscally we can't beat it, because I'm paying $600 a year. You're giving me $120. Come on, that's it ain't rocket science to figure that out.
Now, when this was first announced, Chip will tell you, I was more excited than anybody. But I've got to tell you, once I've gotten over the wow factor on this, and I've started looking at what everybody is saying, and pretty much everybody is reflecting just pretty much word for word what you were just saying. There are three things about it that make me nervous. Thing number one is that so many people love the idea. When this many people love an idea, I can't help but want to step back and go, okay, this is beginning to sound like it's too good to be true.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what? You're right to feel that way. And you know what? We'd have to wait to watch it unfold, because you could be right. And you know what? Like I said, that's the coins or something. There could be a little caveat that makes it not perfect. You know what I mean? My
second problem with it is it assumes everybody has internet. And if there's anything that I've been learning here as of late, that is so not the case. I was speaking with a guy the other day who has a business. He has a brick and mortar store, and he's wanting to go completely online. And I reminded him of this fact that not everybody has the internet. You may want to still keep your brick and mortar and really focus on the internet if you want to do anything, but don't lose your brick and mortar. And he looked at me. He said, and I quote, "WB, I'll have you know, every single person I have ever chatted with online has the internet." And I couldn't help but think, well, you can't argue with logic like that. But
it's perfect logic. It's flawless.
But the problem is, you would really be surprised, and a lot of the big wrestling fans are like out in the boonies, they're out in the sticks, they don't get high-speed internet, if any internet at all, and I'm kind of thinking they're leaving a large number of people out in the cold.
Well, listen, those people, they can still order pay-per-views on most providers, right?
Oh, now you just hit on my third problem. Do you see this as being the eventual end of television broadcasting of professional wrestling?
No, because there's always going to be television for the weekly shows for sure. Maybe the end of pay-per-view, because that's the dying breed. Honestly, pay-per-view, on demand is the rise. Pay-per-view is not, no one wants to pay $70 for something they can stream illegally. So what you do to end illegal streaming,
That's true.
Honestly,
That's true.
What you do to end illegal streaming is you nip it in the bud by giving it to them for a simple and cheap price. Now, what happened, a perfect example, is Napster and iTunes. They said Napster and all the clones of Napster are going to give this music on the internet away for free. That's what kids want. So what iTunes said is, okay, we'll give it to you, but only at 99 cents, so it's a really good value, right? So guess what? At that point, you're like, I'm not going to do anything illegal. I'm just going to get it for 99 cents. WWE is saying to you, instead of illegally streaming this, we're going to give you a way to do it for only $10 a month. So what they're doing is they're taking everybody that's illegally streaming it and forcing them to pay it for $10 a month. And they're taking most people who are going to use the smart TV. And as much as, and you're right, it's a valid argument to say that some people aren't on the computer. But every year it gets exponentially more. It's getting more sparse to see someone who's not on the computer. They are more of a dinosaur ever. I'm afraid to look at a person who doesn't have a goddamn iPhone anymore.
I don't.
Yeah, but okay, but you're talking to someone who's double nickels here. You know, I'm 30 years old and I've had an iPhone for 10 years, so I get where you're coming from there.
At my age, Donald, my version of getting lucky is remembering where I parked my car. So
awesome.
So just keep that in perspective.
So did you, WB, I just got to ask, at your age and with no pun intended, did you take a lot of chair shots? Like when you were in wrestling?
No. Who you
WB.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
No, I didn't take any chair shots. I was slammed on a concrete floor once.
Oh, okay. Just wondering.
I don't remember taking any chair shots, so maybe that speaks for itself.
You didn't miss those spots back. That's good though. You knew ahead of time. CT and everything.
I got slammed on the floor once by the missing link.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah,
wow.
The big bald-headed green guy.
Yeah,
he's a strong cuss.
I bet.
He is indeedy. But you're now Donald. Do you have a? And I have to admit, please forgive me. I'm really naive on this particular topic. But have you ever donned the tights in a squared circle?
No. Listen, I'll be honest. I'm not a wrestler. I wrestled collegiately, and I wrestled as far as mat wrestling goes, Olympic style, Greco-Roman. But I never participated. I've never been a wrestler. But what I did was, as a kid, I grew up in Philadelphia. So my dad's like, yo, you know what? You're off the summertime. You better go get a job. Well, they used to take me to ECW Arena, which is only 5 miles from where I live, right outside of Philadelphia. So I used to go down and sweep the floors and clean up the ECW Arena and make like $5 a day. Just doing whatever they would tell me to do. Well, I got to meet guys in wrestling. ECW, a lot of guys were dickheads. But honestly, it's true. But honestly, guys like Stevie Richards, guys like the Blue Meanie, these guys were genuinely good dudes, and they were like, and it made me love wrestling because I got to see them not as wrestlers, as dudes with families, and watch them go in the ring and put on a show, and it was a show. And you see the fans who are losing their minds. I hate you, you know what I mean? And I was like, man, I just talked to the guy that he's saying he hates, and he's got to go home because his daughter is sick. And it's like, it's crazy to think that, but he's evoking that emotion, and it's acting. There's nothing different between Stevie Richards going out and making a crowd love him or whatever, and like a Shakespearean actor acting out a huge epic poem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no difference. It's an art. It's getting people to care one way or another. Love you or hate you, as long as they care.
Now, as a huge, because as we record the show, we're in Oklahoma, and so we're both kind of from the Oklahoma area, and I was a huge ECW fan growing up, and of course I had to do it through the underground tapes because Philadelphia ECW Wrestling wasn't syndicated until it went to TNN, which was kind of like the death of ECW really, and so I gotta ask, since you were there live, what would you say would be the best experience, the best moments that you experienced within the ECW arena? Me being an ECW fan, hopefully I can remember it.
Okay. So I'll poke three things. First, Rocco Rock being hung from the balcony in the very front. Then you got Rob Van Dam and Sabu, pretty much anything they've ever done, either together or against each other. And then I'll remember Taz coming back. And just with Sabu and Bill Alfonso turning and going with Taz, the place exploded because Taz was the top star in that company at the time. And when he went out for a little bit with a broken, we thought it was a broken neck and it was going to be out for a long time, but then he just showed up like 6 weeks later, whatever it was like, oh my God, he's back! And then he won the title, and then it was like he brought the After World title back. And I actually bought that replica. The only replica title I've ever bought in my life was the After World title from Taz. So there's a lot of good moments. You got primetime Brian Lee getting thrown from the scaffolding. It's awesome. There's so many moments.
No, were you there for that one?
Okay, these shows were taped weekly. Okay, they were just, you go in, you know what I mean? You just file in. If you got there early, you get pretty good seats. If not, you had to sit on the bleachers. But whatever, it was a little-ass place. It didn't matter. It was always the same thing. There's a bunch of jobbers. If you ever watched the old tapes now, there's a bunch of jobbers who weren't making it in WCW. And looking back now, we can always see, like, oh, man, look at the WCW influence on ECW.
Yeah.
But it was when you got to see guys who you knew, like, man, this guy's going to be awesome. This Rey Mysterio guy is going to be awesome. Oh, my God, did you see that match with Psychosis? It was awesome. And it was like, we didn't know who these guys were, but we're like, what we're watching is really cool. Looking back now, we saw Psychosis and Rey Mysterio, and they were just kids, and they were going at it against each other. And it was like, this is amazing. How is this? What is this? Tell me more about what this. Oh, the cruiserweights? What is this? And then you see them in WCW doing the same thing, and you're like, I saw that like in my backyard a week ago. What the hell?
Tell me something, Donald. How would you complete this sentence? The greatest wrestling announcer of all time was...
Bobby, are we talking about color commentator or play-by-play?
I'm going to leave you on a carte blanche.
Okay, Bobby Heenan, and if you're talking for color, I'll go Bobby Heenan for play-by-play Gorilla Monsoon. And like I got to say, I got to talk about that from perspective looking back because I didn't live it. So Gorilla Monsoon had this. He's kind of. I know everybody loves JR, and I don't love the Attitude Era of wrestling. So JR has kind of become synonymous with that with me. So it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I know that's blasphemous. I know. I'll get
fair
hate
enough.
now.
Fair enough.
I get hate mail all the time for it anyway, but I stand by it. You know what I mean? But honestly, you look back and you talk about some of the huge moments during the 70s and the early 80s, and Gorilla Monsoon did a lot of that stuff. And even Vince McMahon, I didn't hate as a play-by-play. But honestly, color, it's not even close. Bobby the Brain Heenan. Bobby
was great. He was one of the greats, that's for sure. I get some of my better one-liners just by watching old YouTube videos of Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yeah, one of my favorites is on the first Raw when he got kicked out and he kept trying to get back in. Bobby the Brain Heenan was the Rodney Dangerfield of wrestling.
Oh, yeah, that's
respect.
right. I remember that.
Respect.
I remember that. My girlfriend called me last week. She said, why don't you come over? There's nobody home. So I got up, got dressed, went over. Nobody was home. I get no respect at all. Anyway, I'm sorry. No, for me, my personal favorite wrestling announcer of all time would have to be the immortal Gordon Solie. For me, he was the best by far when it came to just straight announcing. I thought he was one of the best interviewers you would ever run into.
I think there's so many. Okay, that was probably before my time, so I can't. Like I said, yeah. So no, but I have to preface it with that. Like I know who he is. I've heard him announce, but like I don't have that affinity with him. Maybe you grew up with him, and then, like I said, this is all subjective. So when you grew up and you fell in love with wrestling, it's like you chase that high. You want to feel it. Like, oh my God, when I saw, you know what I mean, Randy Savage doing what he did, it was like, that's what caught me. That's what got me. It was like, oh, I mean, you know what I mean? And that's what you chase, that feeling. So, like I said, if you're talking about interviewers, seeing
Mean Gene, great, yeah.
On Old School Raw and talking about the 1-900 numbers.
Yeah, that was good.
Losing it, dude. I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yep.
You know, you brought up the Old School a couple of times. One huge criticism that I would have had on Old School Raw. And by the way, I'm saying this even though I loved the show. I thought the show was absolutely great. I had no problems with it as a show, but it was not old school. If they were truly old school, there would have been no script.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, they gotta be old school in the name, but it's still the same exact. I mean, what basically old school means, we're going to trot out the 11 legends that we have within driving distance, and you're going to enjoy them like mixed amongst our regular script. It's definitely not what old school is. It's not old. It can't be. It can't be. It's live television. There's a lot more money at stake. You know what I mean? They're about to sign a deal eventually that's going to rank in the billions of dollars range. They can't go off script anymore. It's definitely not that. But what they can do is that they can give us intriguing storylines. I don't want to see Big E Langston walking through the back and then have like 3 guest spots wasted on him just walking around. You know what I mean? You could have used $1 Million Man in a better way. That's what got me with that Old School episode. I loved it too. I love seeing these guys. You know what I mean? I love Bad News Barrett berating them. Even that, I hate the Bad News Barrett gimmick, but him berating legends, very fun. I enjoyed that. But I wanted Ted DiBiase to just not, you know what I mean, like talk to Oksana and then look at Big E. I wanted him to do something. That's how you make it old school. You make it like he does, comes out and stuffs a $100 bill, and the guy is Big E beat. You know what I mean? And whatever. Big E's Ted DiBiase, and then he leaves. You know what I mean? That's a better use of him. That puts over a younger star.
Now, with that said, we saw something on the past Raw that I definitely wanted to touch base on, and that was the early induction, because usually they announce Hall of Fames after Royal Rumble, and I'm sure you guys have already touched this on your show, of the Ultimate Warrior. So, what is your opinions of the Ultimate Warrior? I'm guessing I'm probably around the same age as you, so you remember the Ultimate Warrior as a young kid or younger kid. Unlike WB, who was probably old enough to be his dad. So, I want to go about your opinion on seeing Ultimate Warrior inducted into the Hall of Fame.
I'm spiking your dinner with X-Lax.
Listen, and you got to spike his dinner with Pepper the dog, by the way. Always Pepper the dog. Don't ever forget that. And listen, no, honestly, okay, so... Well, sort of. What was the question? I got all distracted by Pepper the dog. What was the question?
Oh, it's feelings of Ultimate Warrior being inducted to the 2014 Hall of Fame.
Jesus Christ. I'm all over the place. You guys got me excited. I love being on the show. Ultimate Warrior, yeah. Listen, Ultimate Warrior, we can't deny what he was to the WWE. He was the next Hulk Hogan. He was the guy they were grooming to be the face. He was absolutely batshit insane, but he was the guy. He was the next Hulk Hogan. He was the guy that everybody wanted to be him. Everybody wanted to get on that train. Hulk Hogan was a dying breed. I'm an Ultimate Warrior guy. And you know what? That's when that battle, when he won at WrestleMania, it was clear who the WWE began favoring. But with that, he instantly became an egomaniac, and you can go through the old court documents, you can see the old contracts they had to sign. It was insane. He became a maniacal, just out of control athlete, and the WWE was smart to just pretty much say, you know what, F you, guy, you're not bigger than the system. We're going to just, you know what I mean, we'll bury you down the card again, and then that'll be the end of it. How it ended, we can't talk about, because how many bad endings are there in working relationships? Judging from a career, that's how you judge it. You know what I mean? Every baseball player ends up going to 3 teams nowadays after his long stretch with one team. You know what I mean? That Roy Halladay spent most of his career as a Blue Jay, but came to the Phillies, did something else. You know what I mean? That's what you do. You come out, you do one little stop, and then you're done. So you can't fault. They can't fault him for WCW. We can't say at the end of his career the way he handled it that was poorly. And it's all true. But you know what? It's a business first and foremost. We were not in the discussions for all that stuff. All we can judge is what he did in the ring. And undeniably, Hall of Famer should have been way long ago. But you know what? It's going to make for a really cool induction speech at the very least.
The one thing I hope they can explain finally about the Ultimate Warrior is when he was cutting his promos. What the hell language was he speaking?
Listen, if you whatever planet he claimed he was from, in many of he's like, I'm from planet. Listen, I'll be honest with you, I love those because look, as a kid, okay, if you're selling wrestling to a kid, which is what they're doing, you see John Cena is being pushed because it's kids, right? This is mainly pushed towards children. So as a child growing up, seeing the Warrior and as being like, when you're a kid, what were you doing? You were the Warrior. You're just constantly running, sliding, breaking stuff. You're jumping in the mud. You do it just going crazy. You're like a friggin', you know what I mean? You're a ball of energy. Well, guess what? Now this ball of energy, the Ultimate Warrior, is in front of you, yelling and doing stuff, and you're like, I'm shaking the TV back at him because I'm so crazed up as a little kid. And you're like, I love this guy. Well, he got kids excited. Run into the ring, his tassels. Dude, he was the John Cena. He was the Hulk Hogan. He was huge, dude.
But
you know what? He can speak whatever goddamn language he wants, as long as it's that shit the same. As long as it's crazy, and his Hall of Fame speech goes on way too long, and everybody feels awkward by the time it's over, and he starts bringing up steroid juice and all kinds of... I hope you're using this platform to bury the entire company, to be honest with you, because I think it'll be just a hilarious moment.
Get on the rocket ship, Hulk Hogan. I just remember that interview like before the WrestleMania. And I think Christian did it the best, though.
I hope Hogan inducts him.
I heard rumors about that.
Yeah, listen, if that's true, look, if it's true, I hope the Ultimate Warrior just like, I'm taking this into my own hands. And you're like, I want to say this for you. And he's just this amazing exit pro where you're like, oh my God, is this real life? Because you know that somehow WWE would turn that into a match. So he would get Hogan versus Warrior again. So I would do
Hogan Warrior WrestleMania 30. That's just, come on. I mean,
it would have to be 31. It would have to be 31.
Oh.
You got to build it for a year like you did Rock Cena, dude. You don't just
oh, that's true. That's true. Just hopefully none of them pull a hammy before then.
You know, one thing I think would make for the most confusing conversation of all time would be to see a conversation between the Ultimate Warrior and Dusty Rhodes discussing the love sonnets of William Shakespeare.
No, listen, that's true. Listen, Dusty, but you know what? Dusty Rhodes would not claim to know anything. Ultimate Warrior would tell you he knows it all, and then like try and recite it and know that it's real. Dusty Rhodes was like, I'm too good for that. I never read that when I was in school. We didn't have that in my school. We were not taught with these books. We didn't use them books. So he would not lie to you. That's the best part of Dusty Rhodes. He'd tell you how his family's on hard times. My family was on hard times. We didn't have Shakespeare sonnets. So it's like, okay, that's Shakespeare sonnets. Okay, fine, whatever.
Maybe the Ultimate Warrior can explain this. What what he said of "I'm gonna be your Huckleberry all night long" might be.
Listen, can I tell you the truth? What I would like is, you know how during speeches there's always someone doing sign language.
Yeah.
Oh, like Ultimate Warrior's speech with Dusty Rhodes interpreting his speech. like you gotta watch him. Like, okay, Ultimate Warrior says that Vince man, we had some troubles, but we all got now. It's like, okay, this is amazing.
Oh, man. That'd be like Stevie Wonder describing Ray Charles' shorts.
Exactly. Amazing.
Oh man, that would be an awesome confrontation. Okay, of your years within professional wrestling, complete this sentence. The lamest gimmick of all time was.
Ooh.
Okay.
So many choices.
Okay, I'll do one in WWF and one in WCW. Fantasio, is that what his name? I remember the magician guy.
The WVU said that one.
Yep.
That's right up your alley.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's Fantasio in WCW, and I mean, hands down, the gobbledygooker in WWE.
I would have to agree on both cases.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Yeti's definitely in there. The ECW zombie guy from the first night of that guy's in there. The Goon, he's in there. Beaver Cleavage, he's in there.
Beaver Cleavage, I don't remember that one.
That was the old headbanger, correct?
Yeah, I'm almost positive it was a headbanger.
Yeah.
But, you have to double check it, but yeah, I'm almost positive it's somebody else. I know he did something else. He got out from underneath that horrible Beaver Cleavage gimmick.
Okay, we're really off color. A really off color question.
Sorry.
The divas whom you would wish to see in a porno movie.
Oh God, really? Are we gonna go there? Sure.
None.
Oh, yeah.
Look, can I tell you the truth? I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to pass on the question and say this in this moment. I'm going to say I'd rather see like quality women's wrestling. I'll trade all the women in.
Thank you.
Real wrestling. Do you get me? Look, and they have the solution. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you a little secret. It's not a secret at all because everybody knows it. Sarah Del Rey is in the developmental league right now, teaching all these women how to wrestle. Okay. While she's teaching all these women, she's helping them. If you look at the crop of women coming up now, Emma. Paige, and look, you got all these women in NXT. Summer Rae, who are quality wrestlers. Summer Rae's a good wrestler. You got all these girls, not the Total Divas girls, the girls who aren't quite up yet. Summer Rae was the first one. Sarah Del Rey is teaching all of these women how to wrestle. Okay, she's one of the best. We talk about Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards going to TNA. This girl, she wrestled these guys in Japan when they weren't supposed to be wrestling girls. She is a tough broad. She's tough as nails. She could bring credibility back to this. You got AJ Lee. You bring in some of the young girls. You bring back some people to spend some money. Awesome Kong, Go Shimmer. There's quality women in their industry. But you know what? Let's be honest. They favor beauty over brawn in the women's division. That's just how it is. They can sell more people on beauty.
Well, you know, one thing Chip will tell you, and as a matter of fact, a few weeks ago on this very show, in spite of my hormonal-based question and my admiration of AJ Lee, and all for the wrong reasons, in spite of that, one of my biggest disappointments of the WWE for 2013 was the entire Divas department. I was just so unimpressed with them on a wrestling level.
Well, of course, because it was not based on wrestling. It was based on a television show.
Yep.
It was based on the show Total Divas. The whole division based on a television show. And AJ Lee became the heel who was supporting wrestling. Like, hey, I'm a wrestler, and I'm the bad guy. And they're like, well, we're models, and we don't have to wrestle. It's like, that's not how wrestling works. It's not, you know what I mean? Those should be heels. The Bellas should be heels because they don't like wrestling. And AJ loves wrestling. She should be the face. Like, this is convoluted.
And you know, in that vein of what you're talking, it's almost a crying shame that one of the divas on Totally Divas was from one of the biggest wrestling families of all time. That, of course, would be Natalia Hart. That almost seemed like a waste.
Let's talk about Natty Neidhart for a second. Let's get real with Natty Neidhart.
Now, we're not going to talk about her peeing her pants, are we?
No. I'm going to talk to you on a fundamental level. First things first, let's talk about on the microphone. She is absolutely atrocious. She is like a human train wreck when she speaks, okay? Now, in the ring, she can catch those big spots. Every sharpshooter is perfect. But it seems like her just like technical throwing a clothesline, I don't know if it's the ineptness of the people she's wrestling or if she just like botches every move that's not a huge spot. She's not good in the ring. Her matches are not quality. Sometimes she gives you great spots, but overall, like chain wrestling, I don't see it, dude. Listen, I want to support Natty. She's definitely the least offensive face, I guess I'll say, but she's not what I'm looking for. I want someone who could just chain wrestle. You know what I mean? Guys like Chris Jericho, who could, you know what I mean? They come in, you give them a guy from anywhere in the world and say wrestle a match, and they're just going to get back to chain wrestling, back to basic wrestling, because that's what you have to do. And it seems like if it's not a planned spot, it's like, what do I do? Oh, very clothesline. Oh, you're falling. Oh, that looks like poop. We're done. I'm going to lay on you. It's over. And that's it. And it's like, oh, what the hell just happened?
And it would be very interesting to see, because you saw bringing back divas, bringing back your legitimate diva wrestlers. You said Awesome Kong, which is a perfect example, but even girls like Mickie James, who is a free agent. I know Gail Kim's in TNA right now, but even two girls like that, Beth Phoenix. I don't know what the hell she's doing right now, but she'd be an ideal woman to bring back as well. And the crop of NXT that you brought up was perfect. One of my favorites in NXT right now is Paige. Paige to me has AJ Lee, but 10 times better of a wrestler all over her. And why in the world is she still in NXT is beyond my understanding.
No, I'll tell you right now, if you listen to Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast, he had Roddy Piper on it this week. It was one of the best hours I spent. I can't wait to listen to the next one, honestly, because Roddy Piper talks about his youth and how he left home at 13 and was on the road. Well, he talks about how his first 4 years of his career, they kicked him in his ass every night. And you got it, you're green. And that's the answer. She's green, dude. Okay. She is only 21 years old. She hasn't been in the industry for very long. While she's got good in-ring skills, she lacks the knowledge of the psychology of it. And honestly, they're afraid. And with most kids 21, you remember what it was like being at 21 years old, dude. They're afraid of too much too soon. You get a big head, and then you turn into Randy Orton. You know what I mean? And they turn to Randy Orton, and you're garbage in the future. You know what I mean? That's what they're afraid. And you know what? I'm glad they had the ability to slow play Paige. Give her another year, another 2 years. And how much better is she going to be in 2 years, dude? She's not going to get worse. She's going to get better. So the patience is what I say with like phone up Sami Zayn, bring him up. Now, Sami Zayn's already older. He's already older. He's already been on the road and knows what it's like to pay his dues. He has paid them. So he can come up soon. But you got a guy who's younger, who goes in there, who hasn't paid his dues. He's got to stay there. He's got to earn it.
And I'm glad you brought up Sami Zayn, because he's a perfect example of just he's independent talent who's ready. And I was very impressed with, and it's really a sign of him as an individual and him as a character, to go from El Generico to Sami Zayn, taking off the mask and be able to still, that's a testament to his performance, as his ability as a wrestler. And I know WB, he doesn't watch NXT as much, but Sami Zayn is legit. And he's going to be, it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with him in the future.
Now, Donald, I would like to tap your crystal ball, as it were. If you were to predict the future, what do you see coming up as far as the longevity or the lack of longevity for the career of The Undertaker?
Okay, we talked about this on the show this week, too. Me and Mike Yari have gone back and forth on this a lot. We talked about if he retires, when's he going to the Hall of Fame, all this stuff, because it's all factors into it. But honestly, and he sold me on this. He said, this guy works a month a year, culminating in one match a year.
Yep.
He gets paid a ton of money to do that.
Must be nice.
He comes, and listen, he's okay with the work schedule, and apparently they're okay with the work schedule, so there's no issue there. So the only incentive there is, does he want to do it? Well, he comes back in the best shape of his career every time. Has he come back fat? Hey, does he look like Sting in a maternity shirt? No. He comes back fit as a fiddle, dude. And you know what? I just say, he's fit as a fiddle, but he's putting on shit matches, so I don't want to see it anymore. Dude, he's putting on good matches. Him versus CM Punk, a young cat, a kid who's doing good, rising up in the business. Well, he's awesome, dude. He's awesome in the ring still. He could still sell a match. Him versus Triple H 2 years ago. I don't like Triple H at all. Well, you know what? He made me like that match. Undertaker made me like those matches. So you know what? You give me Undertaker, I'm going to tell you the truth. If I had to put a number on it, how old is he? He's like 48, right? Or 52 or somewhere in there?
Somewhere in that area.
Late 40s, if I remember right.
Okay. Honestly, I'll say 5 more WrestleMania.
You think that long?
Yeah, I do. Why? It's 5 matches. It's 5 matches.
I just don't see him lasting much longer. But then again, for the last 4 WrestleManias,
yes.
My prediction was that was his last one. So
what gives you the inclination that he could go away? He's been this old for years, and he comes back in peak physical. Look, and they always talk about the dirt. She's like, oh, he's nursing this injury. He's nursing this injury. Dude, I don't believe any of that, because he goes, look. Let's say the last time he worked was when the Shield put him out, right? That was, what, 2 weeks after WrestleMania?
Right. Mm-hmm.
That was April of last year. He is fine. I don't care what happened to him, unless he's like a fighter on the side and he's getting his ass beat all the time or something. You heal him that fast. I don't care how old you are. That's 9 months. And he's going to have 12 months before he's got to wrestle a match. So even if he tears an ACL, I'm still like, all right, you can probably make it back. You're fake fighting. You're fake fighting. Suck it up, make it look good, and you know what? You in this case, you got to put it against a guy who can carry him too. So that's when you say. That's why I say no John Cena this year, because Undertaker's going to come back healthy, because that's what he does. He's still young enough, and he's still plenty agile enough. So he's going to come back and he's going to fight a guy like Brock Lesnar, who there's already a build-in. It's going to be interesting. And you know what? We don't know what could happen. But it's when Undertaker in 5 years, when the Undertaker's like, man, I don't know, Vince. I don't know if I could do this. That's when you say, John Cena, you got to carry him through this match. You got to help him. And you know what? That's when he has faith in a guy like Daniel Bryan, if he's still there. Like, man, you can help me. You can listen. You can shield a guy in a wrestling match. You can make a bad worker look really good against the right guy. And that's, you know what? People would be willing to do that for Undertaker, no problem. You know what I mean?
What kind of big outcomes do you see coming out of the Royal Rumble coming up?
Honestly, if I'm putting my money, look, if I had money and there was a way for me to bet in the United States on wrestling outcomes, I'm putting. If you give me $100, I'm putting $90 on Daniel Bryan, and I'm putting $3 on CM Punk, $3 on Batista, $3 on Roman Reigns. I'm taking that other dollar and I'm getting candy.
I would have thought your bet on Roman Reigns would have been higher.
No, because you know what? Honestly, it's Daniel Bryan's year. They've been building to him since SummerSlam. This is honestly, they're just off bets where it's worth it. It's like when you go to the horse races. You know what I mean? You got to throw on the 50-1, just off chance he goddamn steals the show. I don't think, honestly, 100%. I don't think any of those guys are going to win. I think it's Daniel Bryan. I think they've been building him versus Triple H. Look, the WWE Championship and the World Championship were united, and they did not close Raw last week. Daniel Bryan closed Raw. Daniel Bryan's storyline closed Raw last week. Whether the dirt sheets say that he is being held down by Triple H and Vince McMahon, this whole storyline since before SummerSlam, way before SummerSlam, has been based around getting Daniel Bryan to go back in the WWE Championship scene and win it at WrestleMania. Listen, they're not going to like hearing this, but he's Chris Benoit. He's Chris Benoit when he won at WrestleMania 20. He came, he had to go through all the same things. He's going to win the Rumble, and then he's going to win at WrestleMania 30. And that's how you build a bona fide top star.
Man. Do you drink a lot of coffee?
No, I do. I love talking. I love talking wrestling, man. You know, you got a show. You know how it is.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
No, I got that. But your energy level is just so admirable. It is admirable. I mean, you've got to be what, your early 30s?
No, I'm 27.
27? Man, I tell you what, you've made this hour just zip by.
For an hour?
Yeah. I mean,
oh my God.
Yeah.
There's so much drinking I could have been doing during this time.
Hey, dude, listen, thanks so much for joining us. You have been an absolute charm. We've got to have you back again sometime here in the very, very near future, man.
You tell me a time, man, and I'll convert it to Eastern time, and I'm going to make the time for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, thanks, guys. You have a great night and a good weekend.
You too.
You too. Man, I'm telling you, it's one thing about him. He's just at a loss for words. he's got to come out of that shell at some point.
Well, I guess we can hope, right?
Man, I tell you that.
Awesome.
I'm sweating over here. I feel like I just ran a marathon. That was absolutely incredible. That was a dynamite guest choice. I got to hand it to you, Chip.
Oh, thank you.
Be sure to join us next week for another edition of this show we call
SCI.